My name is Marsh Naidu and welcome to the Raising Killin podcast. I blog at raisingkillin.org where we curate resources for special needs parenting. Today on episode number 44, I am going to chat with Alex Lopiccolo, affectionately known as the King of Swings. This episode is brought to you by First Citizens National Bank, who is our valued community supporter. Alex Lopiccolo, aka Mr. Alex, is an experienced occupational therapy assistant, a certified personal trainer, and a nutrition consultant. Alex is well known as the King of Swings. When he is not treating as a full-time sensory integration therapy practitioner, he travels around the world, sharing his knowledge of sensory motor therapy with OTs and students at pediatric clinics and universities. He especially enjoys designing home sensory gyms to help his young clients at home. Good morning, Alex.
Morning,
Welcome
Marsh.
to the Raising Killin podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
Alex, what in the world got you started on your OT journey? I'm really interested to find that out.
So I was first a certified personal trainer, and I wanted to get into the therapy realm. And at first, I was going to go for physical therapy, and then I found out that OT was more of the creative type of functional therapy, even though I love PT. So I got into it. I didn't even know about what sensory integration was. And when I found it was more play-based, I was like, that's right up my alley.
When it comes to sensory integration, like a heads up for parents that are listening, what exactly would you say that sensory integration is, Alex?
It's organizing the central nervous system for improved motor skills, for that's gross and fine motor. Also, sensory modulation, which is a lot of the kids that we see are either overreactive, sensitive, hyperactive, lethargic, and they're not in that middle ground alert state where you're in your flow state, where you're more alert, calm, and collected. Also, children that have a hard time with executive functioning skills for academics. And also just doing your activities of daily living that they have a hard time with. Maybe it's motor-wise, maybe it's because of their alert level. Also, children that have behavioral challenges, which we always want to point the finger of they're being a bad kid. It's not necessarily they're making bad choices. It's that their nervous system is on overload and they're not getting the support or proper tools, or they don't have the awareness of how to get into that just right alert state.
Alex, during your career as a therapist, I'm sure that there was something about swings that led you to pursue it more as a treatment tool. What was that ha-ha moment for you?
So the first time I found out that about swing use for therapy is when I worked in Denver, Colorado at Unique Prince Therapy, and they had a custom swing structure in an old historic mansion, and it was made by Southpaw, which is one of the leaders in the sensory therapy equipment realm. And I thought it was so cool that there's actually a company out there making professional therapy equipment for sensory integration. So I decided, like, why can't we expand more on the different types of swings and make it more powerful? So I started write articles for Southpaw, and I saw that there's other companies out there that are, trying to make different types of swings. And I started modifying my own swings about 11 years ago. And ever since then, I been on a journey to make the best sensory swings in the world.
Do you have to have a certain square footage in order to put a sensory gym in? I mean, how does that work?
So it doesn't necessarily mean the space. It's the way that you modify the space. So a closet can be turned into a small sensory space where I've put a Lycra hammock inside of it. I've also done doorway pull-up bars are a way you can have a movement space in between a doorway. Also, playrooms, living rooms, bedrooms, hallways, you name it. You could do some type of movement or relaxation space in there.
So for that parent wanting to find out more on how to engage with you to get a sensory gym set up for the child, what does that look like, or how does that process begin?
So usually I have the client take pictures of their room or multiple rooms of the house, all different angles, measure the space, length, width, and height. Also draw a rough blueprint of what the space looks like with where the windows, the door, the lighting is. Also any other types of things in the room that could impact the movement space. So I usually will go for the living room if possible, because that's usually the largest space in the house. And kids usually hang out in the living room while the parents are in the kitchen or the family room. So I like to look at it as, where will the child use the swings or the sensory equipment most frequently? Because in order to change the central nervous system, you want to do it frequently throughout the day to get the most beneficial therapeutic benefits from it.
So I often see your post on LinkedIn, and in my mind, I'm thinking, are these swings necessarily something that's going to be suspended from the ceiling? How does that work, Alex?
So I would say majority of the time it's hanging from the ceiling, where you can change out the swings very easily at different heights. Also, I do things that are off the walls, so it doesn't necessarily have to be from the ceiling. I use bungee, rope, Lycra, off the walls, and it really depends on the space and what works with the family dynamic.
Got you. So in order to kind of integrate the senses and to get better interpretation at that cortical level, you mentioned that the exercises, or the swinging rather, needs to be done through regular intervals during the day. Obviously, with kids returning back to school now, most of them returning back to in-person classes, how would that look for a parent or a mom that wants to integrate the swinging through the day? Is it something more or less done like at morning and then repeated again in the afternoon, or?
So I recommend morning, afternoon, evening, anywhere 5 to 20 minutes of movement activity. Even if you get in, 1 to 5 minutes, it's better than nothing, right?
Right.
So it's the frequency of use is what's important. In the morning, sometimes just doing an obstacle course with your kids, or doing maybe some even jump rope. It doesn't even have to be suspended. I know some families can't do it because, say, they live in an apartment,
Right.
or they're renting a house. So outdoor or indoor movement is really important. And we're the thing with swings is that you're working body and space, and body and space is with the vestibular input and rhythm is really helps kind of sink your body into getting into that flow state. So rhythm equals regulation. So doing it frequently throughout the day, you'll maintain that flow state and you'll have less behavioral challenges and more focused and improved happiness.
Okay. So, for example, say if our kid is in the swing, right? And is any other therapies incorporated into that, or are they just allowed to swing and absorb that state of rhythm and flow that you described?
Sometimes the child has to get in some passive input
Okay.
in order to get their body in sync, where some others want to be more active and kind of do it themselves and be independent. So it really depends on that child and also their cognition level and their motor skills. So that's always a factor. So I like to try to go passive and then move to active independence.
So it can be used to kind of upregulate and kind of involve a little bit of heavy body work as prep work to get the child started off before before their therapy, or as a means to calm the sensory system down, maybe towards the latter part of the day. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So for children that are lethargic, you can do things that are more fast moving pace, or say more vertical, where it'd be like bouncing. That would be more upregulating, where passive rhythmic movement would be more down regulating, because the parent or the therapist could kind of pace the child. Also, like nighttime, if you're looking, like a lot of times kids will skyrocket with their adrenaline or their arousal state at bedtime. It is great to get in that movement, but you kind of have to, it's good to have structure at night for a bedtime routine. And it's good to be like, okay, let's, let's do this type of, let the child pick the type of input, but kind of always work on that down regulation at the end. So maybe it's not only swinging, but it might be blowing some bubbles in the bathtub with some tubing. So
I know we love the rocking. Rocking is something usually that we like using to as a pre-bedtime activity. Alex, for the therapists listening out there today, how can, I mean, if they want to get a sensory system set up in their practice, or a sensory room, how can you help in that endeavor? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So with therapy clinic designs, what I typically do is same thing with the home gym. Is I try to get as many pictures of the space ahead of time, and then also what their existing equipment is, either if it's a swing structure or sensory swings or ball pit, slide, platform. And then I try to incorporate what they already have into their new treatment space. So sometimes it's just modifying an existing space, or they're moving to a new clinic and they would like to try to amp it up. So contacting me via WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or Instagram or LinkedIn, those are the best channels for me. And just messaging me info on the space is really critical. Sometimes I will design it ahead of time. Then I modify the space a day ahead of time, and then I teach a workshop, the King of Swings workshop, the day after. So you can get the whole service of from beginning all the way to the end completed project, and then you have a therapy clinic ready to treat in the day after the workshop.
Now, for those therapists that might be already working in the clinic but want to know more about the sensory education, I mean, there are courses out there, I know, by Jane Ayers, but I mean, those that are wanting a more practical, hands-on approach, what resources would you suggest, or can you give us a heads up on that?
Outside of my workshops and webinars, my favorites would be probably Vital Links. They show more videos and then treatment videos, and then they talk about the clinical observations after. Sheila Frick, Mary Kawar, one of my favorites. Also, Integrative Symposium. They have some really good webinars out there right now. TheraMoves, they have webinars and upcoming workshops. They're out of New York. I also like Teresa May Benson's work from the Spiral Foundation. She has lots of webinars on sensory integration therapy. The Star Foundation, the Star Institute, they also have really good sensory integration therapy continuing ed webinars.
Tell us about the webinars that you offer, Alex.
Sure. So I usually teach them either per country, because the reason I divide it up into countries is because there's different things you can, different styles of treatment, and also what's accessible equipment wise in each country. Also the way rooms are set up are different in each country. The language barrier. So there's a lot of things that go into that. And then also I like when therapists can connect from different parts of the country and be able to network together. So I'll do it per country, or I'll also do it for, say, like just a therapy clinic that wants to host it, just private for staff. I also have a few of them online that parents can purchase, say, like if they have a camping hammock and they have, 1 to 4 suspension points at home, then they can buy the webinar and then use all the different types of sensory diet interventions at home.
Sensory diet. I'm kind of curious about that. What is it that you kind of call a sensory diet?
So a sensory diet would be, it was created by the Wilbargers, which I got trained in by the TheraPressure technique that they use. The sensory diet is 8 to 12 minutes of movement sensations, proprioceptive, vestibular, and tactile, 3 to 5 times a day with that high intensity. So frequency, intensity, and duration of sensory motor input throughout the day to help with sensory modulation.
Alex, you mentioned your mentorship program. Can you tell us more about that, please?
So the 2-day sensory gym practitioner mentorship will be out of my house in Gig Harbor, Washington State, just an hour outside of Seattle. And I'll be going through different sensory motor activities and how to set them up in home, indoors and outdoors. and you get to explore all different sensory therapy activities. And it's experiential learning for yourself, so you get to try them hands-on. It will be a 9 to 5 workshop, and you get to network with therapists from all around the world in the sensory integration realm, and it will be a blast. I've been doing it for the last 2 years, and it's always a really fun time for education.
How do they find out more about the mentorship program?
So it's at the end of June and July on a Saturday and Sunday. And if you go to sensorydigest.com, you'll be able to see the exact dates. And then if you just message me, I can get you signed up and have you out here in Gig Harbor.
All right. Thank you for your time, Alex. This has been amazing. And you've given so much of value, and you've given a opening for folks to contact you and find out more about how to utilize a swing in the space that they have available. So, guys, I am going to ask Alex to please run through the ways that that he can be contacted. If you don't mind, Alex, as a point to finish off with, if you can let our parents or therapists know how to contact you once again.
That's Alex Lopiccolo, Lopiccolo on Facebook. You can direct message me. There's also, you can direct message me on Sensory Digest on Facebook, also Sensory Digest on Instagram, and then also Alexander Lopiccolo on LinkedIn. You can click on my social media links on sensorydigest.com. Go to the bottom of the page and click on the social media links. Also, you can check me out on YouTube. I have some videos of different treatment activities, and also just some fun things to show your kids of what sensory integration therapy can be about, because it can kind of be a little scary of going to a therapist to do OT, and you can get them excited about them going to therapy.
Lovely. Alex, thank you so much for your time. I sincerely appreciate it. And if you are in my neck of the woods anytime soon, that's Tennessee, please, I would love to see that posting. I would definitely want to take up one of your courses.
I'll be traveling a lot this year and forward, so I will definitely be in Tennessee within the next year.
Okay. Well, and I will be at that course. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Marsh.
Thanks. Take care, Alex. Bye now. Bye.
Hi, guys. We have come to the end of another podcast, and we sincerely appreciate you listening along. As always, remember the opinions expressed today are solely our opinions and not intended as medical advice. You can reach us anytime at raisingkellen@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And also remember that the podcast is actually now available on YouTube as well. So leave a comment. Let us know what you think about what you hear, and subscribe to be notified of when the next podcast drops. Today's episode was brought to you by our community sponsor, First Citizens National Bank here in Northwest Tennessee, and we are really grateful for their support. As always, remember, guys, get to the top of your mountain. This is Marsh Naidu signing off.